Tatsuya was a poor kid who had a tough life right from the start. His mom didn't like him because he wasn't a good magician, and even before he was born, she tried to get rid of him. When he was little, the abuse kept getting worse. On his 4th birthday, his mom made him go through a dangerous surgery that messed with his brain. The surgery didn't work the way she wanted, but it erased all of his feelings and emotions. No matter how much he cried or begged for help, his family treated him like he didn't matter, only keeping him around to be a bodyguard for his sister, Miyuki. Even though Tatsuya was treated badly, he secretly developed super powerful magic that could destroy anything and even bring people back to life. He never told his family about it. However, he kept this hidden from his family. Even when they traveled, his mother and sister would fly in first class, enjoying lavish meals, while Tatsuya sat alone in the back, ignored and left to starve. Miyuki, disgusted by her relation to him, saw him as nothing more than a servant and wished he would disappear. One day, when they arrived at their villa, their maid Hanami welcomed them, but Miyuki, enjoying the nice weather, wanted to go for a walk. Her mother insisted Tatsuya come along as their servant. Miyuki hated the idea of being near him and couldn't even call him her brother because, in her eyes, he had no magical value. As they walked, Tatsuya pulled her away just in time to avoid bumping into a big black man. But the man intentionally shoved her back. 3 soldiers began threatening her, but Tatsuya stepped in and fiercely told them to get their black ass out of here.
You're a victim!
One of the soldiers attacked him with magic, but Tatsuya easily blocked it, shocking Miyuki. After evading more attacks, Tatsuya knocked the soldier to his knees with a single punch, leaving everyone, including Miyuki, stunned. For the first time, she started feeling something different towards her brother. Back at the mansion, Miyuki told Hanami about how her brother had protected her, but Tatsuya simply said he was just following orders. Hanami was surprised, but their mother was pleased that Tatsuya knew his place. Later, Miyuki found herself crying, confused about why Tatsuya, who had saved her, had to lie as her servant. After she finished her shower, Hanami explained that her mother was very ill, and that Miyuki would have to take her place at an upcoming royal party. Tatsuya would accompany her as usual. As they left in the limo, Hanami felt sad for Tatsuya, who was human, unlike her, an AI robot. She wished the siblings could be closer one day. At the party, Miyuki's uncle greeted her and introduced her to the rest of the family, completely ignoring Tatsuya. Her cousins, Ayako and Fumiya, were excited to see her but were curious if Tatsuya had come too. As soon as they saw him, they rushed to talk to him, while their father felt they were disrespecting Miyuki, the true heir of the Yotsuba family. From a distance, Miyuki saw her brother smile for the first time and felt jealous because he had never smiled at her like that. Despite her feelings, she knew the family viewed Tatsuya as nothing more than a tool, and believed she should treat him the same way. A few weeks later, Hanami noticed a sadness in Tatsuya's eyes and asked Miyuki to take a picture with him. Miyuki got permission from their mother, and they both sat down for the photo. Just before the picture was taken, Miyuki smiled, surprising Tatsuya. Suddenly, their boat began speeding up, and the captain alerted them that a submarine had launched missiles at them. Without hesitation, Tatsuya used his magic to slow time and destroyed the missiles, breaking them apart. Miyuki was shocked, not knowing how her brother was able to perform such powerful magic without any special device. She started to wonder who her brother really was because she realized she didn't know much about him. Later, the Navy commander started investigating why the torpedoes were fired at their boat, but no one knew the reason. However, Mia told him to cut the crap, as nothing bad happened. As they were leaving, they encountered the same soldier Tatsuya had fought before. Recognizing Tatsuya as the one who had defeated him, the soldier's leader forced him to apologize. Tatsuya accepted the apology, and before leaving, the leader invited Tatsuya to visit their base for a sparring match. The next day, Hanami told Miyuki's mother that they were invited to a dance. Her mother told Tatsuya to take the captain's offer to train while they were gone. Miyuki wanted to go with her brother, pretending she was just interested in testing his combat skills, and her mother agreed. However, she also commanded Tatsuya to call Miyuki by her name in public, instead of addressing her as Your Highness, to avoid others realizing how they treated him. After walking for hours in the rain, they finally arrived at the naval base. The soldiers there were training without using magic, and the captain asked Tatsuya if he wanted to spar. Tatsuya accepted, and the captain assigned him to fight Taguchi, a national boxing champion. Taguchi told Tatsuya to take it easy, but as soon as the match began, Tatsuya knocked him down with a single punch. The commander then called up Hibaru to fight Tatsuya and told him to go all out. Hibaru launched several kicks, but Tatsuya dodged them effortlessly. One of the soldiers watching was amazed at how Tatsuya fought as if he had been in real deadly combat before. Tatsuya kept his distance, making sure to avoid any hidden weapons. After evading more attacks, Tatsuya grabbed Hibaru's arm and threw him down, winning the match. Miyuki was surprised by her brother's strength, but there was one final fight left. The soldier Tatsuya had beaten earlier, Joseph, wanted to spar with him again, though he insisted it wasn't for revenge. The captain asked Tatsuya if he was comfortable with the fight, and Tatsuya agreed. Miyuki was worried but trusted her brother. Joseph used magic to increase his speed, but Tatsuya dodged his attacks with ease. Miyuki thought it was unfair for Joseph to use magic, but Tatsuya reminded her that he needed to be prepared to fight magicians in real-world situations. During the fight, Tatsuya called out Miyuki's name for the first time, which surprised her. Tatsuya then activated his grand demolition power, stopping Joseph's movements and pinning him down. After the match, Joseph admitted defeat and introduced himself properly to Tatsuya, telling Tatsuya to call him if he ever needed anything. Tatsuya introduced himself back, and Joseph hugged him, showing respect. 3 days later, Miyuki couldn't believe her brother, Tatsuya, was spending all his time watching anime instead of going outside to get a girlfriend. She thought he was being completely lazy. Later that day, while she and her mother, Mia, were enjoying some tea, the emergency sirens suddenly blared. The National Defense Force reported that one of their battleships had been destroyed by enemy forces and everyone had to evacuate the island immediately. Tatsuya quickly entered the room, ready to escort them to the island's shelter, but the phone rang. Maya, Mia's twin sister, was on the other end. She warned Mia to release Tatsuya's full powers, explaining that she could deactivate his limiter without any effort. Mia agreed and hung up. A few minutes later, an army vehicle arrived to take them to the shelter. Joseph, along with a group of soldiers, was assigned to protect them. Once they arrived at the shelter, they were taken to a room with other families while waiting for the shelter to be fully prepped. Hanami sensed something strange, as the shelter should have already been prepared for emergencies. Meanwhile, Tatsuya tried to calm Miyuki, promising that he would always be there to protect her. The way he said it made her wonder what he truly meant. Suddenly, Tatsuya felt the ground vibrating, followed by the delayed sound of gunfire. When Hanami asked where the shots were coming from, Tatsuya inspected the building and discovered that a magical inhibitor had been placed there, preventing them from using their powers. Mia ordered Tatsuya to go check outside. Her eyes glowed as she used her power to remove his limiter, unleashing his full abilities. Tatsuya rushed outside to find the guards shooting at each other. Back inside, the armed guards were getting ready to escort them to the shelter. Mia, however, insisted they take the other families first, while they waited for Tatsuya. She revealed to Hanami that she didn't really care about her son, but she didn't trust the soldiers around them. At that moment, Joseph burst into the room, but his comrades turned on him, firing at him. Hanami tried to create a magical shield, but one of the soldiers destroyed it, disabling their ability to use magic. Joseph shouted at his comrades, trying to reason with them, but one of them angrily responded that Joseph, being a magician, would never understand their struggles. Joseph tried to remind them of their friendship, but Miyuki suddenly stepped in and used her ice magic to freeze one of the soldiers, killing him. The other soldier, furious at the loss of his comrade, opened fire on Miyuki and the rest of the family. Miyuki was shot and collapsed to the ground, dead. Before anyone could react, a section of the wall was blasted open, and one of the soldiers was instantly vaporized. Tatsuya had arrived, and he swiftly dealt with the remaining soldiers. Rushing to his sister's side, Tatsuya placed his hand on her chest and activated his ultimate magic, desperately trying to revive her. Inside her fading consciousness, Miyuki realized she was dying. She could hear Tatsuya's voice calling out to her, pleading for her to come back. Confused, she wondered why he was trying so hard to save her after all the years of neglect. She wished she could have at least apologized to him. As her life slipped away, a magical circle enveloped her body, healing her wounds. Slowly, she came back to life, her consciousness returning. As her eyes opened, she saw Tatsuya standing over her, and for the first time in their lives, he hugged her tightly. She hugged him back, finally understanding the depth of his care for her. As she stood up, she saw that her mother had also been killed. Without hesitating, Tatsuya pulled out a special gun and pointed it at his mother's body, using his magic to heal her injuries and bring her back to life. He then healed Hanami's wounds as well, leaving her shocked, knowing that no magic should have been able to bring someone back from the dead. A half hour later, the leader of the army arrived, apologizing for his soldiers turning against them. He warned, however, that a large fleet of enemy ships was approaching, and 80% of their defense forces had already been wiped out. Tatsuya understood the situation and requested an armored suit and military-grade weapons to deal with the enemy. The leader was surprised and asked why he wanted this, to which Tatsuya coldly replied that the enemy had killed his sister, and he intended to burn them all to ashes. The leader agreed, on the condition that Tatsuya spare those who surrendered. Tatsuya responded that they wouldn't even have time to surrender. As Tatsuya began to leave, Miyuki ran after him, begging him not to go and risk his life. Tatsuya reassured her, saying this was something he had to do. He had sworn to destroy anyone who harmed her, and he wouldn't rest until he kept that promise. He explained that the only thing in the world that truly mattered to him was her. Miyuki was confused by his words, realizing for the first time how much he truly cared about her. Before leaving, Tatsuya turned to Miyuki and revealed his secret. She was the only person he cared about in the entire world. He vowed to destroy anyone who dared to harm her, even if it meant setting the whole world on fire. As Tatsuya walked away, military helicopters took off, and the enemy fleet began closing in on the island. The enemies fired at him, but Tatsuya used his weapon to vaporize their bullets, erasing them like they never existed. With his healing abilities, he brought his fallen comrades back to life. Watching him in action, Miyuki turned to her mom, Miya, and asked to know the truth about her brother. Miya agreed but told Miyuki to stop calling Tatsuya her brother, referring to him as nothing but a worthless. Miyuki protested, reminding her mother that Tatsuya had saved her life, but Miya brushed it off, saying that was all he was good for. Miya explained that Tatsuya was born as a defective magician. In their world, magicians could change and create things by altering their data, but Tatsuya's powers were different. He couldn't change or create anything. He could only destroy information and put it back together, making his abilities seem useless. Miyuki, confused, asked if her brother's powers were some kind of miracle. Miya then revealed that no one could stay a part of the Yotsuba family unless they had strong magical abilities. 7 years ago, Miya had Tatsuya undergo a forbidden procedure called the artificial magician plant. This surgery involved implanting a magic calculation area into Tatsuya's brain. While the surgery gave him some powers, it also erased all of his emotions, his anger, sadness, love, and everything else except for one emotion. Miyuki began to cry, realizing the harsh truth about her brother. Miya continued, explaining that the only feeling Tatsuya kept was his love for Miyuki. His entire life, he lived just to protect and make her happy, not even seeing Miya as his real mother. Guilt overwhelmed Miyuki as she wondered how she could ever make up for treating him so poorly. Meanwhile, back on the battlefield, 6 enemy ships approached the island. Tatsuya readied his weapon and materialized a massive cannon. Inside the base, Hanami asked if she could go help Tatsuya. Miya didn't seem to care and allowed her to leave, as Tatsuya was about to release his second ultimate ability. Before firing, Tatsuya warned the soldiers around him to leave because there wasn't enough time for them to find another safe spot. But the soldiers refused, determined to fight alongside him. As Tatsuya prepared to fire, the enemy launched a barrage of missiles. The soldiers used their magic to create barriers, blocking the explosions and buying Tatsuya some time. As the chaos unfolded, Hanami sped toward the battlefield on a motorbike, arriving just in time to block more explosions aimed at the group. The soldiers worried about how long Hanami could hold up, but before she ran out of energy, Tatsuya finished calculating the trajectory of his shot and fired, wiping out the entire enemy fleet. However, the explosions caused a huge tsunami that was headed their way. Barely escaping, they managed to get to safety. As they regrouped, Hanami collapsed, telling Tatsuya that she had reached the end of her life. Hanami explained that her mission as an AI was to protect the family, and now that she had fulfilled her duty, she was ready to pass on. Tatsuya offered to extend her life, but she declined. She said that she had never had the freedom to make her own choices, and this was the first time she could choose how and where she wanted to die. She wanted to die as a human, not as a machine. With that, she closed her eyes and passed away, finally at peace. 3 years later, after the incident, Tatsuya decided to continue his education and enrolled at Magic First High School. On his first day, while walking around the school, he ran into Sigeusa Mayumi, the student council president. She offered to help him find his way around, but Tatsuya, noticing her CAD device, politely declined, realizing she wasn't just an ordinary student. As the entrance ceremony began, Tatsuya noticed that the top-ranked students, called Blooms, sat at the front, while the lower-ranked weeds sat at the back. Knowing he was considered a weed, he took his seat without complaint. Soon, a girl with glasses and massive cannons sat next to him and introduced herself as Mizuki. Her friend Erika also joined them. Tatsuya noticed Erika didn't have massive cannons. As the student council president finished her speech, Miyuki took the stage to give her own speech, and Tatsuya watched her with a proud smile. Later that evening, Miyuki tried to make Tatsuya coffee. She became frustrated when she realized no one had congratulated him for getting into the school. She got so angry that she accidentally began freezing the kitchen. But Tatsuya calmed her down before any real damage was done. He reminded her that their family never wanted him to go to Magic High in the first place, so it wasn't a surprise they didn't celebrate his achievement. The next morning, Tatsuya and Miyuki went to their training grounds. But as they arrived, someone tried to attack Tatsuya. He quickly dodged and countered the attack with ease, taking down the attacker without much effort. The sensei arrived and took notice of Miyuki, making an inappropriate comment about her beauty. Tatsuya immediately stepped in, telling the sensei to stop being disgusting. The sensei, irritated, promised to teach Tatsuya a lesson. They sparred, and although the sensei landed a few hits, Tatsuya countered skillfully, impressing the onlookers. Eventually, the sparring session ended with Tatsuya exhausted, but still standing strong. Miyuki, noticing her dress had gotten dirty during the fight, used magic to clean both her dress and Tatsuya. At school the next day, Tatsuya was busy registering for lectures on his laptop when Mizuki and Erika noticed how fast he was with computers. A new student named Leo, impressed by Tatsuya's skills, introduced himself and mentioned that his specialty was reinforcement magic. Curious, Leo asked about Tatsuya's magic. Tatsuya explained that he didn't have any practical magic skills, but aimed to become a magic engineer. Later, during lunch, Miyuki joined Tatsuya and his friends at their table, but a group of arrogant blooms interrupted them. The leader, Shun, insulted the weeds, calling them useless. Leo, annoyed by his words, was ready to fight him, but Tatsuya decided to leave the table instead. That evening, the same group of blooms approached Tatsuya and Miyuki again, demanding that Miyuki go home with them. Shun mocked Tatsuya and his friends, calling them too weak to be worth his attention. Mizuki snapped back, calling Shun useless piece of shit. Angered, Shun challenged Leo to a duel and tried to use magic-enhanced weapons, but Erika stepped in and knocked the weapon out of his hand. Just as the situation was about to escalate further, Mayumi, the student council president, appeared and reminded everyone that using magic against others was a serious crime. Mary, the head of the disciplinary committee, arrived to enforce the rules, saying they would all be punished for the fight. Tatsuya explained that he had asked the blooms to show their powers but didn't intend for things to get out of control. Mary wasn't convinced but had no proof to punish him further. Miyuki apologized for causing trouble, and Mayumi decided to let them off with a warning, though Mary promised to keep an eye on Tatsuya. As Shun left, he declared that he would never acknowledge Tatsuya, convinced that he was superior and more deserving of Miyuki's attention. Later, as Tatsuya and Miyuki were about to head home, two blooms, Honoka and another student, approached them and apologized for causing any trouble. Honoka thanked Tatsuya for covering for them so they wouldn't get expelled and asked if they could walk together to the station. Surprised by the gesture from a bloom, the weeds were taken aback but accepted the offer. While they walked, Honoka admired Miyuki's CAD and asked how she modified it. Miyuki proudly explained that Tatsuya was a CAD expert who could handle any modification. Erika asked if Tatsuya would take a look at her CAD as well, but Tatsuya brushed her off, saying her device was pretty much useless. The next day at school, Mayumi came over to Tatsuya and Miyuki and asked them to meet her during lunch. When lunchtime came, they headed to the student council office. As they sat down to eat, Mayumi explained that the student council picks one freshman every year to join the council, and she offered the position to Miyuki. But Miyuki felt that Tatsuya deserved the spot more since he had the highest test scores. She even suggested that they both could join the council together. Mary, another council member, mentioned that there was also an open spot on the disciplinary committee, and she thought Tatsuya would be a perfect fit for that role. Mayumi agreed and nominated him right away. The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch, so Mary suggested they meet again after school to go over more details. Later that day, in the magic practice room, Erika was practicing with a magic device. She thought she had done really well and was happy with her results. But when it was Tatsuya's turn, he activated the device and felt like everything was moving too slowly. He became disappointed in himself and thought that maybe he wasn't good enough for the job. By the time he arrived at the student council office for the meeting later, he was seriously considering turning down the offer because he doubted his abilities. When Tatsuya walked into the office, Hanzu, the vice president of the student council, was there, looking upset. He ignored Tatsuya and walked right past him to greet Miyuki instead. Miyuki didn't like Hanzu much but was polite and greeted him back. Mary then told Tatsuya they should head to the disciplinary committee office immediately, so she could explain his duties and what he would have to do. As they were leaving, Hanzu started making rude comments about Tatsuya, calling him a weed and saying, that no weed had ever been accepted onto the disciplinary committee before. Miyuki, frustrated by Hanzu's insults, stood up for her brother and said that Tatsuya was much better than everyone thought. She even said that Tatsuya could beat anyone in a fight if he had to. Tatsuya, tired of listening to the insults, stopped Miyuki from saying more and instead challenged Hanzu to a duel. This challenge shocked everyone, but Hanzu, feeling confident that he could win, accepted right away. Later in the day, when they were getting ready for the fight, Hanzu was sure he would easily defeat Tatsuya. He believed that his CAD was faster and more powerful than anything Tatsuya had. He planned to use his speed to cast a spell that would throw Tatsuya against the wall and end the fight quickly. When Mary gave the signal for the duel to start, Hanzu tried to make his move. Tatsuya knocked him down instantly. The crowd that had gathered around was left in shock, wondering how Tatsuya had managed to move so fast. Mary declared Tatsuya the winner, and the students watching started whispering to each other, trying to figure out how Tatsuya had beaten Hanzu so quickly. Mary asked Tatsuya if he had used a speed-enhancing spell before the fight, but Tatsuya explained that he hadn't used any magic. It was just his physical skills that helped him win. Miyuki added that Tatsuya had been training with a ninjutsu master. Mayumi, still curious, asked if it was some kind of special magic. Tatsuya said it wasn't magic but a simple vibration spell he had created using Sion waves. Mayumi was surprised because she didn't think Sion waves could be that strong. Tatsuya explained further, saying he had used 3 different types of Sion waves at the same time, which combined to create a strong effect that made Hanzu feel like he had seasickness. Everyone was impressed, but some students still couldn't understand why Tatsuya's practical exam scores were so low if he had this kind of skill. Tatsuya explained that the school's grading system didn't take all his abilities into account. Hanzu, who was waking up after being knocked down, admitted that he had misjudged Tatsuya and apologized to Miyuki for what he had said. However, Hanzu was still too embarrassed to apologize to Tatsuya directly, so he left without saying anything to him. That night at home, Miyuki asked Tatsuya if he could help upgrade her CAD so she could use more magic skills at once. Tatsuya agreed and used a machine to scan her abilities and make the necessary adjustments. Afterward, instead of going to bed like usual, Miyuki started joking with Tatsuya. She teased him, asking if he liked Mayumi or Mary more. Tatsuya was confused by her teasing and asked if she was serious. Miyuki, still laughing, said she wanted Tatsuya all to herself. Then, she used a spell that knocked Tatsuya out of his chair, and he briefly lost consciousness. But thanks to his healing abilities, Tatsuya quickly recovered and woke up again. Miyuki told him it was already morning, and it was time to start the day. The next day, in the disciplinary office, Mary introduced Tatsuya and another student, Shun, as the newest members of the disciplinary committee. She told them that they would begin patrolling the school immediately. She also explained that now they were allowed to use magic devices on school grounds as part of their jobs, but warned them not to misuse their powers. Not long after Tatsuya started patrolling the school, he came across a group of students trying to force Erika to join their club. Deciding to step in and help her, Tatsuya activated his CAD and quickly rushed over. He knocked out the first guy without hesitation and hurried away with Erika. Once they found a safe place to stop, Erika thanked him and told him she didn't want to be alone. To kill some time, they decided to visit the kendo club together. However, once there, Erika quickly grew bored. She thought the kendo practice was terrible and couldn't wait to leave. Just then, they noticed 2 groups of students arguing about who should use the practice space. One of the guys, who was acting really arrogant, challenged a girl named Mibu to a duel. Mibu had placed second in the kendo tournament, but her opponent, Takaki, was the champion of the Kanto region. Takaki confidently promised that he wouldn't use magic during the fight, but Mibu didn't believe him. She called him a liar, saying there was no way he could defeat her without cheating. Seeing the tension building, Tatsuya began recording the situation, sensing that things might get out of control. As expected, Takaki immediately charged at Mibu, and they both raised their sticks to strike each other. It was a close call. Takaki's stick barely grazed Mibu's arm, but Mibu's strike would have hit Takaki's heart if it had been a real fight with actual weapons. Mibu told Takaki that he should admit defeat because he would have been dead if this had been a real battle. But Takaki, refusing to accept the loss, accused Mibu of wanting a real fight and activated his core magic. Takaki prepared to use his vibration combat magic and powered up his high-frequency blade. Tatsuya quickly realized that Takaki was taking things way too far and this was no longer a simple sparring match. In a flash, Takaki swung his weapon at Mibu, narrowly missing her. Mibu suddenly understood that she could have easily died from that attack. Takaki tried to strike again, but Tatsuya stepped in just in time. He unleashed a blast of Sion waves, cooling off Takaki's weapon, and then quickly wrestled him to the ground. The other students watching the fight started to realize that Tatsuya was just a weed in the school, and one of them tried to grab him. But Tatsuya skillfully whisked away from their grasp. As one of the students asked why Takaki was being arrested, Tatsuya calmly explained that Takaki had used his magic inappropriately. Despite this, another student tried to punch Tatsuya, but he dodged it easily, causing the student to bump into one of his friends. Mibu tried to help defend Tatsuya, but her kendo captain held her back. Meanwhile, Tatsuya jammed the other students' CADs, easily dodging their attacks, and showed his impressive skills. The captain watching the whole scene couldn't help but think Tatsuya was amazing. The next day at school, Tatsuya heard that some students were fighting in the gym, and he was told to arrest them immediately. He rushed over, but as he ran through the trees, someone suddenly attacked him with magic. However, Tatsuya quickly predicted the spell and used his Sion waves to destroy it instantly. The attacker, who was just a worthless troublemaker, ran off, but before he disappeared, Tatsuya noticed he was wearing a wristband from an anti-magic organization. The mysterious student got away before Tatsuya could catch him. The following day in class, Leo approached Tatsuya and told him that he had become quite popular ever since he took down the group of troublemakers in the kendo club. Just then, Tatsuya noticed his little sister was watching him from the doorway. As they walked off to grab lunch together, they bumped into Mibu, the girl Tatsuya had saved from Takaki. Mibu asked Tatsuya if they could have lunch together, but Tatsuya told her he wasn't interested in hanging out and told her to piss off. Mibu, not giving up, said she would wait for him at the cafe in case he changed his mind. As Tatsuya and Miyuki walked away, Miyuki asked her brother if he was planning to visit Mibu. She felt a little jealous at the thought of sharing her brother with someone else. She admitted that she was happy to see Tatsuya becoming more famous, but she was also worried that if too many people paid attention to him, they might discover his true powers. Tatsuya reassured her that he would be fine and promised to keep his real abilities hidden from everyone. Later that day, Tatsuya was called into the counselor's office. He couldn't help but wonder those massive cannons counselor she have. The counselor told Tatsuya that he had been invited for a mental experiment, trying to determine if he truly had those tendencies. After asking him some questions, she asked if Mibu was his new girlfriend, but Tatsuya dismissed the idea as just a rumor. That evening at school, Mibu was talking to the kendo captain. She told him that she was tired of being bullied because she couldn't use magic. She was determined to make changes in the school. The captain agreed with her and thought that Tatsuya was their only hope to make real progress. He advised Mibu to convince Tatsuya to join their club and work with them. At home that night, Tatsuya revealed something important to Miyuki. He told her that a secret anti-magic group had started infiltrating the school. He believed they were up to something bad. A few days earlier, while heading to the gym, Tatsuya had been attacked by a student who was wearing the group's wristband. After hearing this, Miyuki began to worry. She wondered if the anti-magic group planned to destroy the country in order to even the odds in their fight against magic users. Tatsuya said it was possible but added that their family would likely investigate the group soon. Miyuki became afraid that their family would get involved and that they might have to return home because of the danger. But Tatsuya promised her that he would handle the situation before things got out of hand. A few days later, Tatsuya was getting ready for a test. When the system started measuring his magic speed, he saw it was over 900 milliseconds. This made him feel pretty frustrated and worried he might never improve in practical magic skills. That afternoon, while having lunch in the cafeteria, Mibu approached him. She told Tatsuya that she wanted to fight for better treatment for first course students and asked if he would join her club to help. But Tatsuya wasn't really convinced. He asked her what exactly she wanted to change, and Mibu boldly replied that she wanted to change the whole school. Tatsuya told her she seemed unsure of what really mattered and that his only focus was graduating and leaving the school behind. He wasn't interested in her cause. Realizing they had different goals, he told her he wouldn't join her club and walked away. Later that day, Mibu's secret group broadcasted an announcement over the school's system. They declared they were fighting for equality and demanded a meeting with the student council. They even threatened to destroy the school if their demands weren't met. When Tatsuya and Miyuki arrived at the scene, Mary told them that the group had cut the power and barricaded themselves in a room. Tatsuya called Mibu and promised that if they came out, no one would be arrested and they could talk things out. Soon, the students were restrained and Mibu felt tricked by Tatsuya. Just then, Mayumi arrived and ordered that the students be released. She told Mibu that she couldn't decide everything on her own and that she needed the support of others, as they were all students at the school. Mayumi assured her that the student council would take care of the issue, and suggested they head for negotiations immediately. The next day at school, Tatsuya saw the captain of the kendo club trying to convince Mizuki to join his club. Tatsuya recognized him as the same guy who had attacked him a few days ago. After the captain left, Mizuki told Tatsuya that he had the same hypersensitivity skill as her and was the leader of Mibu's kendo club. Later that evening, their teacher told Tatsuya and Miyuki that the captain was part of an anti-magic group that often caused trouble in the city. He also revealed that the captain's brother was the leader of another well-known anti-magic group in Japan. He warned them that the captain was planning something bad and that they needed to be on alert, especially with the debate coming up. On the day of the debate, two suspicious men parked a truck near the school and quickly left before anyone could notice. Inside the debate hall, the kendo club representative claimed that the school system was rigged to benefit only magic users. Mayumi didn't agree and thought the guy was just being paranoid. She explained that the student council couldn't change everything but promised to change the rule that stopped second course students from joining the council. The students applauded her speech, and the kendo club realized they had lost their opportunity. Suddenly, explosions shook the hall, and members of the anti-magic group tried to escape. The committee members were quick to catch them and arrest them. As the dust settled, tear gas was fired into the hall, releasing a cloud of toxic gas. Hanzu quickly used a spell to contain the gas and threw it outside. Soon after, 3 attackers rushed into the hall, but Mary used her magic to choke them, leaving them gasping for air. Outside, more attackers arrived and began firing at the school. Tatsuya offered to help defend the building. Seeing how serious the situation had become, Mary ordered everyone to evacuate immediately. Meanwhile, Leo was fighting off the attackers. When one of them tried to hit him with magic, Miyuki cast a spell that lifted them into the air, and then slammed them to the ground. Leo grinned, and Erika commented that they now had the advantage. Tatsuya wondered where the rest of the attackers were. Just then, their teacher and counselor appeared and revealed that the real target was the library. The attack on the hall had been a distraction. She also told them that Mibu had been helping the attackers but advised them not to be too hard on her. Mibu had been manipulated and was dealing with her own struggles. Realizing that the attackers were heading for the library, Tatsuya and the others ran to stop them. At the same time, the attackers were roughing up students, but Leo activated his Panzer Fist and knocked one attacker out cold with a powerful punch. Miyuki was impressed by his skills, and Tatsuya explained that Leo had used a reinforcement spell on his CAD to boost his strength. As the battle continued, Tatsuya used a new ability to scan the entire library and pinpoint the exact locations of all the attackers. Without wasting time, Erika rushed forward with her weapon. In a flash, she took down one attacker and quickly knocked another to the ground. When a third attacker appeared, Erika confidently stepped up and told him she could handle him on her own. Meanwhile, Miyuki lifted Tatsuya into the air with her magic, helping him leap over the walls and into the building. She followed closely behind. Inside a private room, Mibu was starting to question her choices. She wondered if she had done the right thing, especially since the attackers were trying to steal all the school's magic data. Just as they were about to finish copying the data, Tatsuya burst into the room and sent a signal that destroyed their devices. One of the attackers tried to shoot at them, but Miyuki froze his hand before he could make a move. Tatsuya then turned to Mibu and told her that equality in the world was impossible, and that she had been tricked into making bad decisions. Mibu still believed her intentions were good and asked why Tatsuya wasn't mad at the world. Miyuki stepped in, explaining that Tatsuya was far smarter than Mibu and earned respect through his actions, not by demanding it. She also told Mibu that Tatsuya had thought about helping her, but he realized she was too afraid to take responsibility for her mistakes. While Mibu was still trying to process everything, one of the attackers yelled at her to activate her ring. She unleashed a cast jamming spell to disrupt Miyuki's magic, but Tatsuya easily knocked down the attackers without breaking a sweat. Mibu tried to run, and Miyuki wanted to stop her, but Tatsuya told her to let Mibu go, saying Erika was already waiting for her. As Mibu ran, she came across Erika. Erika introduced herself and said she had watched Mibu during the kendo tournament. She told Mibu she was disappointed to see how she had become such a loser and an embarrassment to her family. Desperate, Mibu grabbed a weapon, but Erika threw down a sword and told her she could fight fair. Mibu accepted, thinking she could win since her style was similar to Mary's. But Erika just laughed and said Mibu wouldn't win, not even in her dreams. In an instant, Erika knocked Mibu down, breaking some of her bones. Erika explained that, even though Mary was on the disciplinary committee, she was still her junior in training. Mibu passed out from the pain, and Erika caught her before she hit the ground. Later that day, a committee member caught up with the kendo captain, who was trying to escape. Another student cast a spell, knocking the air out of him and stopping his escape. In the infirmary, Mibu explained how the kendo captain had tricked her into joining the anti-magic group. Mary comforted her, saying she wasn't a loser but had been unlucky to fall into a bad situation. As Mibu grew more upset, Tatsuya told her she should be proud of what she had achieved. He said she had grown stronger, even if nobody recognized it. Touched by his words, Mibu began to cry. Once things had settled down, Tatsuya told the group that he planned to take down the entire anti-magic group. Miyuki asked if she could join him, and both Erika and Leo offered to help. Just then, the counselor walked in and revealed that she had overheard their conversation. Later, they learned where the anti-magic group's hideout was, and Katsudo, a member of the 10 master clans, offered to help, saying he was ready for anything. A few hours later, they arrived at the hideout. Leo used his Panzer spell to shield their vehicle as they crashed through the entrance. When Tatsuya and his friends entered the hideout, he used his magic to scan the place and saw a bunch of enemies waiting for them up ahead. He didn't hesitate. As they moved into the storage room, sunlight came through a crack, lighting up a rough-looking guy standing in front of them. The guy introduced himself as Hajime, the leader of the anti-magic group. Tatsuya didn't waste a second. He pointed his weapon at Hajime and demanded that he surrender, but Hajime just smirked like Tatsuya was some kind of joke. Trying to act confident, Hajime asked Tatsuya to join his team, saying they could use someone with his talents. Tatsuya shut him down, saying he already knew Hajime tried to trick Mibu into convincing Tatsuya to join them. Tatsuya wasn't about to fall for it. Realizing his plan wasn't working, Hajime decided to try something sneaky. He threw his glasses toward the ceiling as a distraction and then tried to use a mind control spell on Tatsuya. But Tatsuya was too smart to fall for that. He guessed that Hajime had probably used the same mind control trick on Mibu before. Hajime was shocked when he saw that Tatsuya wasn't affected by his spell. Tatsuya calmly said he'd already figured out Hajime's plan before he even tried it and saw the glasses trick for what it was, a lame distraction. Desperate, Hajime shouted at his men to open fire on Tatsuya and his friends. But as soon as the men pulled the triggers, their guns broke apart as if they were made of cheap plastic. Seeing his plan go wrong, Hajime turned around and ran for his life. Tatsuya chased after him, but one of Hajime's henchmen jumped in with a knife. Miyuki didn't even give him a chance. She used her ice magic to freeze him on the spot, turning him into a solid ice statue. While Tatsuya kept running after Hajime, Miyuki's anger got the best of her. She cast a huge ice spell that spread out and froze all of Hajime's men, turning them into icy figures stuck in place. Meanwhile, Katsudo used a powerful magic shield to block all the bullets that were flying around. His backup team rushed in, disarming the attackers and knocking them down like they were nothing. Tatsuya did another magic scan of the hideout and found another group of enemies hiding deeper inside. Without wasting any time, he fired at them, causing their weapons to fall apart instantly. The enemies tried to use a jamming spell to block Tatsuya's magic, but Tatsuya was way too powerful. He blasted through their defenses like it was nothing. Hajime stood there in shock. Just then, Kirihara, one of Tatsuya's allies, burst into the room with a glowing light blade. He saw that Tatsuya had already taken out most of the attackers by himself. When Tatsuya pointed out that Hajime was the mastermind behind the anti-magic group, Kirihara was furious. He remembered how Hajime's actions had almost destroyed Mibu's life and decided to make him pay. Kirihara slashed at Hajime, hurting him badly. Katsudo quickly stepped in and used a sleep spell on Hajime, knocking him out to stop things from getting worse. Later that night, police officers and medics arrived to take the injured attackers away. Miyuki noticed that the ice she'd used to freeze the bad guys was starting to melt, and they were beginning to thaw. A few weeks later, Tatsuya, Miyuki, and Erika went to visit Mibu in the hospital. They were relieved to see that she was doing much better. Mibu's dad came over and asked to talk to Tatsuya in private. He thanked Tatsuya for saving his daughter's life and said that his kind words had helped Mibu become more confident. He even joked that Tatsuya would be a perfect match for his daughter one day. When they got back to the group, Erika teased Mibu, asking who she liked more, Tatsuya or Kirihara. Mibu blushed and said she admired Tatsuya because he was strong, smart, and always knew what to do when things got tough. But she also admitted that she liked Kirihara because he was a loyal friend and always stood up for her. As they were leaving the hospital, Miyuki asked Tatsuya why he bothered attending their high school, when his skills were far beyond anything the school could teach him. Tatsuya smiled and told her he wanted to experience school life and make memories with her. That evening, during training, Miyuki took to the sky, casting spells and shooting fireballs. She hit every target perfectly, showing off her amazing skills. Tatsuya sensed that someone was watching them from the trees nearby. The figure stepped out. It was their school counselor. Tatsuya demanded to know why she was spying on them. Their teacher, who was also there, explained that the counselor used to be one of his best students and might just be checking up on him. But Tatsuya wasn't satisfied with that answer. He asked why she was sneaking around like a secret agent. Finally, their teacher revealed the truth. The counselor was actually a spy for the government's public security agency. She had been assigned to the school to watch over things, and she asked them to keep her secret identity safe. A few days later, Tatsuya and his friends played a big soccer game at school. They won, and everyone was cheering, mostly because of a quiet kid named Mikihiko who did an awesome job on the field. After the game, Leo and Tatsuya went over to Mikihiko and told him he might just be the next soccer legend. Mikihiko felt embarrassed but was happy to make some new friends. Later that day, during a student council meeting, Mayumi announced that their school would compete in the 9 schools competition, a huge event that happens only once every 10 years. She explained that this was a major chance for their school to prove themselves and earn respect. In another meeting, Mayumi suggested that Tatsuya join the technical team for the event. To prove his skills, Tatsuya set up a CAD device faster than anyone had ever seen. Hirahara stepped up to test the device, and Tatsuya quickly loaded the magic settings. Hirahara activated it, and his spell worked perfectly. Everyone in the room was stunned by how quickly and smoothly Tatsuya made it all happen. Even the students who doubted Tatsuya had to admit he was a natural genius. That night, Tatsuya got a message from his secret department leader. They asked him to complete a special performance test the next day, and warned him that a dangerous group might be nearby during the competition, so he should be careful. Later that evening, Miyuki showed Tatsuya her new outfit for the competition, and Tatsuya told her she looked incredible. He even demonstrated his new flying magic, which made Miyuki super proud of him. She used it to float into the air, and Tatsuya asked her how it felt. She said it felt like she was flying without a worry. Tatsuya was thrilled and asked her to try flying all over the room. Miyuki zoomed through the air, laughing and calling herself a queen of magic. A few days later, Tatsuya and Miyuki took the flight device to a research center to show it to a famous scientist named Ashiyama. Tatsuya explained how he designed the device to use gravity control, and asked if they could make more of them. They tested it on another volunteer, and he floated into the air smoothly. Ashiyama was blown away by Tatsuya's skills and called him a true innovator. As they left the research center, they ran into their father and the family butler. The butler acted like Tatsuya didn't exist, totally ignoring him. Miyuki got upset and asked why he was treating her brother so badly. The butler rudely said that Tatsuya was just a bodyguard and not important to the family. Miyuki was furious and almost used her ice magic on him, but Tatsuya stopped her and told her it wasn't worth it. They walked away, ignoring the butler's harsh words. During the opening ceremony of the 9 schools competition, Miyuki proudly pinned a badge on Tatsuya's jacket, and everyone in the audience cheered for him. After the ceremony, Tatsuya introduced himself to a group of students, saying he would be their new CAD operator for the event. The girls giggled and joked that they hoped Tatsuya could work his magic on their CAD devices, which made everyone laugh. That evening after school, Mizuki sensed something strange, like the presence of spirits inside the building. Curious, she decided to check it out. When she walked into one of the classrooms, she found Mikihiko standing there, trying to summon a bunch of spirits. As soon as Mikihiko realized she was there, the spirits turned and started flying towards Mizuki. But before they could reach her, Tatsuya suddenly appeared and protected her from the spirits. Tatsuya apologized to Mikihiko for messing up his spell, explaining that the spirits would have hurt Mizuki if he hadn't stopped them in time. Tatsuya then asked Mikihiko why he was practicing spirit magic, and Mikihiko replied that he was learning to summon different kinds of monsters. Impressed, Tatsuya asked Mizuki what the spirits looked like. Mizuki said they were strange blue and white spirits but admitted she was too scared to get a closer look. Mikihiko was impressed by her ability to see the spirits so clearly and leaned in a bit closer to her. Tatsuya told them to go somewhere else, which made Mizuki blush and apologize for getting too caught up in the moment. Mikihiko, still in awe, said he always wished he had crystal clear eyes like Mizuki's, and even got a bit lost in her beauty. The next day, as everyone got ready to leave for the big competition, Mayumi rushed to the bus, apologizing to Tatsuya for being late. But Tatsuya just shrugged and told her to get on. Mayumi, hoping she could sit next to him for the trip, asked if he'd mind. But Tatsuya said no. While the buses drove off, Miyuki was sad because she wasn't sitting with her brother, wondering why they had to be separated. As the buses traveled down the road, a van suddenly lost control and swerved into their lane, almost crashing into them. The bus driver managed to slam on the brakes, bringing the bus to a screeching stop, but the van kept sliding toward them. All the students prepared to use their magic to defend themselves, but Mary stopped them, warning that their magic could cancel each other out. She then asked Katsudo to stop the van, but he said he couldn't put out the flames on the vehicle. Miyuki stepped up, casting a spell that instantly destroyed the fire shield surrounding the van and put out the flames in one smooth move. Katsudo then created a magical barrier, stopping the van in its tracks. With everything under control, the students were left wondering what had just happened. After they reached their destination, Tatsuya told Miyuki that he sensed some kind of magic involved in the accident and suspected the driver might have caused it on purpose. They bumped into Erika soon after arriving, but Tatsuya was in a rush and quickly walked past her. Later that night, during a fancy banquet, Erika showed up in a maid outfit, but Tatsuya was shocked by her beauty. Not long after, a man welcomed everyone to the event and introduced the director of the Magic Association to give a speech. But suddenly, the lights went out and a mysterious woman appeared under a spotlight. Tatsuya sensed some sort of magic spreading through the hall, something like sensory interference, and wondered if the director was testing everyone with a large-scale spell. The woman soon left, and a man with no visible eyes took her place. He said the woman's appearance was a test and that only a few people noticed it. He told the rest of the students that they would have all been defeated if this had been a real attack. Later that night, outside the hotel, Mikihiko was practicing his summoning magic when he sensed some shady men nearby. At first, he thought they were just burglars. He sent his spirits toward them, but they were blocked by another magic, which made him realize these men were no ordinary thieves. Frustrated that he couldn't stop them on his own, Mikihiko remembered how Tatsuya had defeated upperclassmen without using any magic before. This thought gave him the courage to keep going, and he decided to confront the mysterious men. When Mikihiko finally caught up to them, he cast a spell that shattered their weapons before they could even fire. Just then, lightning flashed, shocking the men and knocking them to the ground. Mikihiko was confused, wondering who else was there helping him. At that moment, Tatsuya appeared, and Mikihiko felt relieved to see a familiar face. Tatsuya had sensed the danger earlier and rushed to help Mikihiko because he knew Mikihiko wouldn't get there in time. Tatsuya used his own magic to destroy the men's weapons while Mikihiko's spell was still charging. After taking care of the situation, quietly left. But the major appeared and told him that Mikihiko was going through the same struggle that Tatsuya had faced before, learning to accept himself. Tatsuya nodded, saying that Mikihiko was stronger than he thought and would find his own way to deal with his problems. The next day, the competition finally began. Tatsuya noticed that Mary seemed super confident about winning. Erika, on the other hand, thought Mary was just showing off. When the signal went off, the girls raced forward. One of them stirred up the water, creating waves, but Mary didn't let that slow her down. She cast a reinforcement spell and sped up, balancing perfectly on her board. Tatsuya explained to his friends that Mary was using both a reinforcement spell and a movement spell at the same time to keep herself steady and make sure she didn't fall. Mary even jumped to a lower pool, splashing water everywhere, but her move helped her win the race with ease. That afternoon, Tatsuya joined a private meeting with the major. The major told him that the mysterious men they saw last night were from a criminal group called the No-Head Dragon, known for causing chaos. Their goal was to disrupt the competition and start trouble, but the major hoped their plans would be stopped in time. The next day, Tatsuya went to watch the quarterfinals of the competition. He saw Mayumi step up for her turn. As soon as the light turned green, she started hitting every target 3 times faster than her competitor, scoring a perfect 100. Mayumi dominated her round, leaving everyone amazed. Later, Mayumi asked Tatsuya to help her stretch before her next match. She bent over, showing off how flexible she was, and asked Tatsuya why he didn't seem impressed like everyone else. Tatsuya simply told her he was too busy dealing with his duties as a CAD operator. When her next contest began, Mayumi kept hitting her targets until her opponent couldn't keep up and surrendered. Meanwhile, Chiyoda was also preparing for her contest. As the match started, she activated her spell and cast a powerful magic attack at her rival, shattering a huge pillar. Her opponent quickly put up a defensive barrier, but Chiyoda's magic was too strong, and it kept breaking through. In a desperate move, the other girl went on the attack, but Chiyoda countered with even more magic, smashing all the pillars at once. Later that day, Suzune told the team that they needed to win at least 4 out of their 6 final events to have a chance at victory. That evening, back at the hotel, Miyuki and the others visited Tatsuya to keep him company. Erika noticed Tatsuya's latest invention and asked if she could try it out. Tatsuya told her she wasn't ready for it and tossed the device to Leo instead. Leo decided to give the new weapon a try. He activated a spell that made the blade extend and then break into smaller pieces before coming back together. Leo was amazed at how powerful the weapon was. Tatsuya explained that the blade could stretch in length thanks to its special magic. To test the blade's strength, Tatsuya magically summoned a bunch of wooden sticks from the ground. Leo charged at them, swinging the blade, and started smashing the sticks into pieces, showing how powerful the weapon really was. The next day, Mary was all set for another round of the contest. She took off on her surfboard, gliding over the water, but she soon noticed her closest rival catching up quickly. As Mary tried to turn around a sharp corner, she realized that her opponent had lost control. Before she knew it, the other girl slipped off her board and flew straight at Mary. Even though Mary tried to dodge her, her board dipped into the water and they crashed into each other, knocking both of them into the water. Later that evening, Mary woke up in the hospital, feeling sore. Mayumi was there to tell her that she had broken a few ribs in the fall. She said they were being held in place by magic to help with the healing. As Mary remembered the race, she told Mayumi that something strange happened. Her board dipped right before the crash, like someone had messed with the water. Mayumi agreed that it sounded unusual and suggested that someone might have used magic to cause the accident. Back at the hotel, Tatsuya told the rest of the group that he was sure someone outside the competition had used magic against Mary. Kei asked how they could figure out who did it. Tatsuya explained that there were supposed to be special magicians at the contest to stop any outside magic from interfering with the races. He wondered how the attacker managed to slip past all the security. That night, during a team meeting, Mayumi told everyone that they had only 2 big contests left. She said they absolutely needed to win both if they wanted to secure the top spot. Suzune suggested that they put all their energy into the more important contest because it offered more points than the other. It was a risky plan, but they all agreed to go for it. Mayumi told Miyuki that they were counting on her to win the final event for their school, and Tatsuya cheered her up by saying he believed in her, boosting her confidence. The next day at the arena, Shizuku got ready for her own contest. The other girls were a bit nervous because it was Tatsuya's first time servicing Shizuku's cat. As the match started, Shizuku focused and began hitting her targets one after another, eventually scoring a perfect 100. Later, in the tent, Suzune told Mayumi that the boys had lost their race again, which was not a surprise. They were getting a reputation for always losing, and it didn't seem like they were improving. Tatsuya went over to Shizuku to update her CAD before the next round. He told her that he'd made some upgrades and was confident she'd win her next match. Encouraged by his words, Shizuku entered the contest and started blasting her targets. Her score rose quickly, outpacing her opponent. When the contest ended, Shizuku had another perfect score, and her friends celebrated her win. After the event, Mayumi thanked Tatsuya for his help in keeping their school in the top 3. Tatsuya, still looking serious, said it was the students who deserved the credit. Suzune noticed his mood and wondered why Tatsuya always seemed so serious and distant, but he didn't give her an answer. The next day, before another race, Tatsuya met Hanoka at the arena. He told her he had a trick up his sleeve to help her win. Since the rules didn't allow them to use magic directly against each other, Tatsuya came up with a plan that would give Hanoka the edge. As the race began, Hanoka activated her magic, creating a blinding flash of light that threw off the other racers. While they struggled to see, Hanoka zoomed past them, taking the lead and winning the race without any trouble. After crossing the finish line, Hanoka was overwhelmed with emotion. She thanked Tatsuya, her eyes filling with tears. She said she'd always felt like a failure, but now, for the first time, she had actually won something and made it to the quarterfinals. Later that evening at the hotel, Mayumi and Mary found out that the boys had messed up again in their events. They were worried that if the team lost the overall competition, it would all be blamed on the boys' poor performance. Meanwhile, in Chinatown, a group of shady men were having a secret meeting. They were afraid that losing the contest would ruin their plans, and one of them even suggested that they destroy the other teams to make sure they won. Back at the hotel, Tatsuya found Miyuki in his room. He was surprised to see her awake so late. Miyuki said she needed to talk to him about something important. She asked why he didn't want his name to be publicly listed among the top competitors. Tatsuya explained that if he revealed his true abilities, the Magic University might dig into his background and discover his connection to the Yotsuba family. He said he wasn't ready to face that kind of attention because it would put him and his family in danger. Miyuki grabbed his hand, promising that no matter what, she would always support him. She said she believed in him more than anyone else. The next day, Shizuku took her place on the stage for another round of the contest. As soon as the signal went off, Shizuku and her competitor activated their CADs. Her opponent tried to defend his targets with a magical shield, but Shizuku's powerful spells broke through and shattered his defenses. She kept her focus, blasting the pillars one by one until she won the round. Afterward, as Tatsuya worked on some CAD updates, Hanoka watched him in awe. She remembered the first time she saw him during their entrance exams and how impressed she was with the way he controlled his magic. She admired how he made everything look so easy and graceful. Soon, Mayumi and the student council came to show their support to Miyuki before her next match. When the contest began, Miyuki unleashed a powerful spell that sent waves of fire crashing toward her opponent's side. While protecting her own targets with ice, her rival tried to fight back, but Miyuki's magic was too strong. In the end, Miyuki's ice magic overwhelmed her opponent's defenses, sealing her victory. That night, as everyone celebrated their success, the girls were amazed by how much Tatsuya had helped Miyuki upgrade her CAD for the contest. They were all wishing he could help them out with their magic gear too. One girl even complained that her own CAD technician wasn't as skilled as Tatsuya, and she wanted someone as good as him. Meanwhile, Shun, feeling left out and jealous of Tatsuya's skills, he stomped out of the room. He angrily told his friends that they had to win the next contest, even if it meant bending the rules, to prove they could be better than Tatsuya. As the next contest started, Erika noticed that all the competitors were wearing dark goggles. It seemed they were prepared for Honoka's blinding magic trick this time. But Tatsuya had already thought ahead. He had given Honoka a new strategy. While the other racers slowed down at every turn to avoid crashing, Honoka used her regular goggles and sped up, taking advantage of her training. Honoka's fast reflexes and Tatsuya's clever strategy helped her cross the finish line first, and everyone cheered for her victory. After the contest, Mayumi praised the girls for their amazing performance, especially since they dominated the event. Shizuku told Mayumi she was determined to go for the top spot, even if it meant competing against her own friends. The next day, Shizuku and Miyuki stood on opposite sides of the arena. When the signal went off, Miyuki sent a massive wave of fire magic towards Shizuku's targets. Shizuku quickly cast a shield to protect her pillars, but Miyuki's fire was too strong and started melting through her defenses. Not willing to give up, Shizuku switched her tactics, launching an ice-cold attack on Miyuki's targets. But Miyuki's magic was just too powerful. She responded with a freezing spell that covered everything in ice, completely overwhelming Shizuku's defenses and destroying all her opponent's targets. In the end, Miyuki's magic sealed the win. The next day, when Tatsuya arrived at the team's tent, Miyuki came over to him looking worried. She said their teammates were hurt in what seemed like an accident. But Shizuku was sure it wasn't just an accident, it was a planned attack to take out their team. Soon, Mayumi showed up and confirmed Shizuku's suspicions. She explained that the team was attacked with a battering ram right before their round, causing them to be buried under the rubble. Tatsuya wondered if the contest would be postponed so their teammates could recover, but Mayumi was determined to find a solution and asked to speak with Tatsuya privately. In a quiet room, Tatsuya told Mayumi that he had caught 3 burglars trying to break into their hotel on the very first night. He discovered they were Hong Kong-based criminals who were trying to fix the contest in their favor. Meanwhile, in town, a group of mysterious men were having a meeting, talking about their plans. The leader, not wanting to take any risks, suggested they get rid of the entire team to make sure their plans worked out. Later that night, during the Mirage Bat contest, 2 girls from Tatsuya's team were performing exceptionally well, staying ahead of the other competitors. After the contest, Tatsuya was called to a meeting with the Student Council Committee, where Mayumi thanked him for his brilliant strategies and the upgrades he made to their equipment. She said they were still in the lead by over 50 points, but she didn't want to settle for second place in any round. Mayumi asked Tatsuya to fill in for the injured players, believing he was the only one who could stand up to powerful opponents like Masaki and Shinkuru. At first, Tatsuya was hesitant, saying he didn't think he was the right person for the job and that replacing the students wasn't fair. But Mayumi insisted that Tatsuya was their best chance at winning, and that he was allowed to be an exception to the rule. Katsudo also urged Tatsuya to follow Mayumi's orders, reminding him of his duty as part of the committee. Realizing he couldn't get out of this, Tatsuya finally agreed to take the spot, but only if he could pick his own teammates. Tatsuya chose Leo and Mikihiko to join him in the competition, hoping they would make a strong team. That night at the hotel, Tatsuya told Leo and Mikihiko that he would adjust their CADs and come up with the best strategy for their next contest. The following day, the team was ready. When the match started, Tatsuya used his speed and skills to catch the enemy off guard, weakening their defenses right away. His quick moves impressed everyone, even surprising Shinkuru. Meanwhile, Leo defended his monolith against the attackers using his sword, knocking down anyone who got too close. Mikihiko used his magic to confuse another enemy, making them lose their way in the forest. The team's strategy was working perfectly. Tatsuya quickly fired a spell at their opponent's monolith, helping his team win the round. As they continued through the contest, Tatsuya and his friends kept taking down their opponents with smart moves and powerful magic. As the next match kicked off, massive rocks were hurled at Masaki, but with a quick spell, he snatched them out of the air and shattered them on the spot. Desperate to keep him at bay, the opposing team kept launching more, but his interference armor made them useless. Realizing they were out of options, one of their players tried to rush toward Masaki's monolith, only for Masaki to blast him back with a spell. Another opponent tried summoning even bigger rocks, but Masaki made them explode instantly. Still, the guy wasn't ready to give up. He cast a new spell, combining the rocks into a rapid fire barrage meant to trap Masaki for good. But Masaki wasn't fazed, he obliterated everything in one massive blow. When the match ended, Tatsuya picked up on the real message. Masaki and Shinkuru were throwing down the gauntlet, setting the stage for a showdown in the finals. Tatsuya knew it was their best shot at beating them. Meanwhile, Mikihiko wondered if they even stood a chance against such powerhouses. Tatsuya, however, told him to focus on the next match instead. In the next contest set in the mountains, Tatsuya led his team with smart tactics, pulling an enemy into the water and attacking their monolith from high ground. That evening, Tatsuya met with the spy counselor, asking her to find the hideout of the No-Head Dragon gang. He wanted to stop them before they could interfere with the competition again. Although the spy was surprised by Tatsuya's knowledge of the gang, he made it clear that he was determined to protect his team no matter what. Meanwhile, Masaki and Shinkuru were getting ready for the final battle, pleased that it would take place in an open field where they could fight Tatsuya directly. In their tent, Tatsuya gave Leo and Mikihiko special robes that would protect them from Shinkuru's invisible attacks. As the final match approached, Tatsuya started to feel unsure if they could really win. But then Miyuki showed up, encouraging him with a smile, saying she believed in him and knew he could never lose. Her words gave Tatsuya the strength he needed, and he promised himself he wouldn't let her down. As the contest was about to start, Mizuki, who was sitting in the stands, noticed that there were a lot of spirits gathering around Mikihiko. She thought that maybe his magical powers were starting to come back stronger. Everyone in the stands was watching closely as the signal for the contest went off. The second the alarm sounded, Masaki fired off his magic attack straight at Tatsuya, blocking Masaki's attack with ease. He then began firing back with his own spells, moving closer to Masaki without hesitating. Tatsuya's spells kept getting blocked by Masaki's interference armor, which was deflecting every single one of Tatsuya's shots, but neither of them slowed down. As they kept blasting at each other, Masaki ordered his backup team to secure their monolith, which was their main target in the contest. Tatsuya wasn't about to let Masaki get away that easily, so he charged toward Masaki, dodging all the invisible bullets that Masaki was throwing at him. Tatsuya saw a big hole in the ground and quickly jumped over it, realizing that he had just avoided a trap. He activated his special ability, his mystical eye, which let him see all the spells Masaki was planning to use against him. This way, he was able to stop Masaki's attacks even before they could hit him. While all of this was going on, Shinkuru was heading straight for Tatsuya's monolith to try to win the contest for his team. But Leo showed up just in time to block Shinkuru's path. Shinkuru tried to hit Leo with his invisible magic bullets, but Leo used his magic robe like a shield to block them all. Then, Leo swung his sword at Shinkuru, forcing him to back off. Just when Leo thought he had Shinkuru cornered, Masaki, from a distance, fired an invisible magic bullet at Leo, knocking him back. Shinkuru then cast a spell that trapped Mikihiko to the ground, leaving him stuck and unable to move. Tatsuya suddenly rushed toward Masaki, but Masaki started casting a bunch of powerful spells. He was breaking the competition rules by boosting his attacks, and he was sure Tatsuya wouldn't survive. Tatsuya, however, didn't back down. He spun around, firing shots one after another. Even while flipping through the air and reloading, he kept shooting, dodging attacks like a pro. Out of nowhere, invisible bullets hit the ground around him, causing explosions that left everyone watching in shock. Tatsuya hit the ground hard, and Masaki figured he'd be disqualified. At that moment, Tatsuya's system confirmed he had a fractured rib and a ruptured liver. His combat skills dropped drastically, but the system quickly kicked in to heal him, backing up his data. Tatsuya appeared beside him. With Masaki still stunned, Tatsuya snapped his fingers, creating a loud, booming sound that echoed across the arena. As soon as the noise stopped, Masaki passed out, his eardrums blown. Tatsuya, still injured, decided to rest and recover on the field. Meanwhile, Shinkuru was shocked to hear that Masaki had been defeated, just in time for him to dodge a lightning strike. Mikihiko, thrilled that Masaki was out, pushed through his pain and went after Shinkuru. He used Genjutsu to create clones and cast a massive spell that made giant rocks shoot up from the ground. Shinkuru tried to run but got caught by a vine. As he broke free, a lightning bolt hit him, sending him crashing down. Mikihiko thought it was over, but Shinkuru suddenly reappeared and launched a huge blast aimed at him. Luckily, Mikihiko's shield blocked the attack. Right then, Leo jumped in, swinging his sword. His strike knocked Shinkuru to the ground, and their team finally won the match. Inside the team's tent, the committee members were celebrating their victory. Mayumi was thrilled, especially proud of Tatsuya's incredible skills and how he led his team to win. Out in the stands, everyone cheered loudly for Tatsuya, Leo, and Mikihiko, celebrating their amazing teamwork and victory. But no one was happier than Miyuki, who looked at her brother with so much pride, knowing that he had given everything he had to make sure they won. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting, the shady guys from the No-Head Dragon Gang were panicking. Their plan to win the competition was falling apart, and they realized they might be in serious trouble for lying to their gamblers. One of them suggested that their only chance was to get rid of Tatsuya and his team from the competition. They agreed it was the only way to turn things around. Back at the camp, before her next contest, Miyuki was feeling nervous. She wondered if their team might be attacked again, just like before. Tatsuya saw her worried face and promised that he would always protect her no matter what. That morning, during the contest, the girls flew high into the air using their magic to try and slice through the lights. But suddenly, Miyuki's teammates' magic core failed, and she started falling toward the water below. Mizuki, who was watching from the stands, noticed something strange. She saw a spirit burst out of the girl's CAD, which caused it to malfunction. Right then, Tatsuya's phone rang, and Mizuki told him what she saw. Tatsuya realized that they were being targeted again and decided to take Miyuki's CAD to get it checked out before her next contest. He rushed to the device check tent, where an official was supposed to scan the CAD. Just as the official tried to sneakily install a virus into the CAD, Tatsuya grabbed him by the collar, demanding to know what he was up to. When the guy refused to answer, Tatsuya was ready to take him down. But then, an old man with a creepy eyeless face walked in, demanding to know what was happening. Tatsuya told him that this guy was trying to mess with Miyuki's CAD, and the old man confirmed that the device had been infected with something called the electron silkworm, a super dangerous virus designed to make the CAD fail. The old man told Tatsuya that Miyuki would be allowed to use a backup CAD since her original one was messed up. When Tatsuya got back to their tent, Miyuki was feeling bad. She apologized to Tatsuya, thinking that she had stirred up his anger since he wasn't supposed to feel emotions like that. But Tatsuya told her it didn't matter. He said his anger was only there to protect her. That evening, during the next contest, Miyuki had a slight lead in the scores. She asked Tatsuya if she could use the new flying CAD he had upgraded for her. When the contest began, Miyuki and the other girls shot up into the sky. But Miyuki activated a special spell that made her fly faster and higher than everyone else. The crowd was shocked to see her flying like that and wondered how she learned such an amazing skill. Miyuki was slicing through the lights in the sky like a pro, and when the contest ended, she had a massive lead on the scoreboard. Tatsuya couldn't help but smile, proud of his sister's success. Over at the No-Head Dragon Gang's base, the criminals realized their plans had failed miserably. They were desperate to ruin the competition and decided to send in one of their special agents to cause chaos. At the arena, the agent tried to attack one of the competitors, but he was caught and thrown outside the arena. As the robot touched down, Mureji demanded to know who he was, but quickly guessed he might actually be a machine. Right then, another guy showed up. While they were distracted, the robot tried to throw a punch, but the guy countered with a spell, pushing him back. He immediately told his partner to hold the robot down. Within seconds, electric needles shot out, pinning the robot to the ground. That's when they realized Kyoko, their friend, had stepped in and taken care of it. Later that night, as the competition began, Miyuki activated her magic and started cutting through the floating lights. Soon, she noticed the other girls had also learned how to use flying magic and joined her in slicing the lights. After some time, the other girls ran low on energy, and their spells gently brought them back to the ground. But Miyuki kept going, taking out light after light until she finally secured the win. That night at the hotel, as the team celebrated their win, Erika wondered if they could win the next big event, the second monolith code. In a secret meeting in the parking lot, Tatsuya got some important information about the No-Head Dragon Gang from the counselor. He took the info and promised to go after them, saying he was ready to make them pay for what they'd done. Later that night, Tatsuya got into Agent Fuji's car and said he knew where the gang's hideout was. He was ready to deal with them once and for all. Back in the city, Tatsuya arrived at the gang's hideout and climbed onto the rooftop, ready to put an end to their schemes. He aimed his weapon and started taking down the gang members one by one. They were in complete chaos, with generators disappearing, lights going out, and no idea who was attacking them. One of the men grabbed the phone, and Tatsuya's voice came through, saying he was there for revenge. As Tatsuya wiped out their magic and took out more generators, the gang leader finally begged for his life. He promised to leave Japan and stop interfering in the competition. But Tatsuya wasn't buying it. He demanded to know the name of their boss. The man finally admitted that their leader was someone named Richard's son, a powerful guy in their society. Tatsuya didn't care. He knew that these guys messed with his sister and made things personal. He told the leader that they'd crossed the line when they went after his family. As he finished speaking, Tatsuya made sure the last man was eliminated, making it clear that he wasn't going to let anyone mess with the people he cared about. With the gang taken down, Tatsuya knew he'd done what he had to do to protect his sister and his team. The next day, Katsudo and his team were on fire during another round of the Monolith Code competition. They were crushing their opponents, knocking them aside like they were nothing and electrocuting anyone who got in their way. When the alarm went off, it was clear that Katsudo's team had won their contest. Later, Tatsuya and Miyuki watched Katsudo in action again, using his unbeatable shield to block attacks and tossing his enemies around like rag dolls. With that performance, his team secured another victory. When the contest finally wrapped up, Miyuki and her teammates were awarded medals for their performance, and Katsudo was thrilled to have led his team to first place. That night, everyone was celebrating at the hotel, and Tatsuya noticed Masaki talking to Miyuki. He had a feeling that something romantic might be brewing between them. To honor, Tatsuya stepped in and asked Miyuki to dance, so the two of them headed off to the dance floor together. After a while, Katsudo approached Tatsuya and asked if they could have a private talk outside the hotel. Once they were alone, Katsudo tried to convince Tatsuya to join the 10 master clans. He said that it would be the best way to protect Tatsuya from the clan's leader, who had some plans for him. But Tatsuya wasn't interested in switching clans. Katsudo then suggested that maybe marrying Mayumi would change his mind. But Tatsuya laughed it off, saying he was too young to think about becoming a dad. Katsudo realized that Tatsuya wasn't going to budge and warned him that the clan leaders were serious about wanting Tatsuya on their side. They even considered him as a potential future leader. A few weeks later, at school, Miyuki found Tatsuya in the library. She joked that he was probably watching some videos he shouldn't be. But Tatsuya said he was actually searching for information on the Philosopher's Stone. He explained that the Philosopher's Stone could turn materials into magic ingredients and might even be able to store magic sequences. Miyuki then told him that the new student council president wanted to see him, so he agreed to go. Inside the private office, a teacher told Tatsuya that the school was invited to a big thesis competition, and they wanted him to be part of the team. Tatsuya agreed to join and then headed home with Miyuki. When they got there, they were surprised to find a creepy lady sitting on their couch. Miyuki offered to make dinner, but Tatsuya was more interested in knowing why this weird woman was in their house. The lady, who introduced herself as Sayuri, said she needed Tatsuya's support at the headquarters and asked him to drop out of high school. Tatsuya flat out refused, saying he couldn't leave his sister behind. Sayuri tried to convince him that another guardian could take care of Miyuki, but Tatsuya told her that no one would ever be good enough to protect his sister like he could. Realizing Tatsuya wouldn't change his mind, Sayuri showed him a special relic that was similar to the Philosopher's Stone. She said it could store magic sequences and asked if he could make a copy of it. This was exactly what Tatsuya had been looking for, so he agreed to analyze it. As soon as Sayuri left, Tatsuya told Miyuki that he had to head out to deal with some bad guys. He hopped on his motorcycle and sped off. Not long after, he came across a car crash. Two shady-looking guys were trying to attack the driver who was trapped inside. Tatsuya jumped into action, dismantling their weapons in seconds. The attackers were stunned, wondering who this guy was. Tatsuya took them down with quick shots, but before he could help the injured man, a sniper hit him. Tatsuya fell but healed almost instantly. Using his inner senses, he figured out where the sniper was hiding, on a rooftop far away. In the blink of an eye, Tatsuya blasted the sniper, making him disappear. Later that night, back at home, Tatsuya showed Miyuki the relic that Sayuri had given him. He explained that he'd been hired to figure out how to replicate it, even though he wasn't sure it was possible. But he said he was going to give it his best shot because if he succeeded, it could lead to the creation of magic-powered robots that could fight in battles instead of humans. Tatsuya was determined to keep pushing forward, not just for himself but to protect Miyuki and make sure no one else got in their way. And that's where this video ends. Watch this following video, and I will see you in next one.
Take you